just getting access first,
Yeah.
it seems like it's unprecedented kind of access.
You're right.
I don't know what the procedure was.
Yeah.
And then getting the guys to trust you to be candid and open with you.
You know, I mean, the U.S. Army has a system for physically embedding reporters. It's pretty straightforward. They place you with a unit, and we were placed with, Battle Company, the 173rd Airborne, and eventually with 2nd Platoon, who were at the tip of the spear in the effort in the Congo. But, that doesn't mean you're emotionally embedded. And like all good filmmakers, we wanted to become emotionally embedded with our subjects. And that took time. By about the 3rd trip, when the guys saw that we were willing to do everything they were doing, I mean, we slept where they slept, we ate their food, we went on a patrol into every combat scenario. Those they kind of opened up to us in a way that was really unique and kind of shows the intimacy of the situation.
Were you there for a year, or how long were you there?
We each did 5 one-month trips. Sometimes we were there together, sometimes we were there apart, but we covered a lot of territory. We covered a lot of their deployment.
Okay. Can you talk about Rock Avalanche? That's kind of one of the standout sequences in the picture. One, what kind of casualties did they take? I mean, first, some of the footage, there's a girl there, I don't know if she's in shock or is she dead. There's certain things you can't tell, and they talk only of civilians, they don't talk specifically women, children, you know what I mean? Can you clarify some of that, and can you talk about editing that, and was it footage too graphic? Was there things you had to cut around, or, both of those things?
We wanted to make the most visceral war film possible, and I think the sequences in Rock Avalanche really take you into the heat and heart of a battle. It was a very disturbing number of days, and in the scenes where the Apache has attacked a house, I think it was 5 people were killed and 10 were wounded, and we were coming up over the ridge maybe 2 or 3 hours after that situation. A couple of days later, and the fighting was taking place. The insurgents overran the American lines when I was there. They killed Larry Rugel, and they wounded 2 others. Fighting continued the next day, and I was with 2nd Platoon. We went down to raid a village where they believed that weapons and night vision goggles had been taken by the insurgents when they overran the lines. I broke my leg on the way down. It was a very tough day, and eventually I got out, and I was evacuated. And but then later that night, 1st Platoon, another platoon was ambushed. 2 were dead, 3 were wounded in a very close quarter fight. So it was a very bloody time for Battle Company, and a hard time obviously for the Afghan civilians caught in the crossfire.
Mm-hmm. And what were the nature of the civilian casualties?
The nature of the civilian casualties.
Were they men, children, women?
There were a number of them. There were 2. I think there were two men. 5 Afghan civilians were killed during that time. 2 Afghan men, 2 children, and 1 woman. And I had in the film, you're taking on a journey where you see, you notice there are casualties. As you said, it's a very chaotic because that's the nature of war. There were graphic images of dead Afghan children and of also dead American soldiers. And I have to say that I just didn't feel that material was I needed to put it in the film. I don't think that we need to see somebody with their head blown off. It doesn't really add anything. The film takes you on an emotional journey without proving to you that I haven't censored myself. I think it was the right thing to do.
There's a lot of talk about the previous commander in the area, McBride. What were some of the differences in what McBride was doing, and I don't remember the name of the captain,
Captain Kearney. Yeah, it was Jim McKnight was the previous commander. Yeah, and Captain Kearney was the company commander when we were there. We weren't there with McKnight. I guess he had a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a hard ass, and I think every commander over there has to find the right blend of being, pretty hard-edged, but also understanding and forgiving. And I mean, it's like almost like being a parent. Like how do you blend those 2 qualities to get the most cooperation from the locals? I think every commander probably had a different mix, and I thought Captain Kearney was, I thought he was pretty deft at it. McKnight, I guess, had a bit of a tougher reputation.
No specifics, do we know?
About McKnight? No, yeah.
Just quickly, any close calls you guys face? Well, there's something you care to share in any case. That, and are there any tips you picked up on, keeping your head down or how to survive in this kind of environment?
We both had a lot of close calls, I think, in filming. Sebastian was in a Humvee that got blown up. I mean, the ID went off under the engine block, so nobody was hurt in the end, but he was probably a couple of seconds away from being killed or definitely being badly injured. I broke my leg during Operation Rock Avalanche and had to walk down on it, and at a time when the Taliban were attacking the Americans, so it was a very frightening time. There were lots of moments where we were, once targeted on the side of a mountain by a sniper who was taking the leaves off the trees above our heads. So it's the nature of combat, and those events are traumatic. But like any kind of event, like a car crash or a loved one dying, there are events that you work through and you get out of. And it's the same for the soldiers. I mean, really, they're the people dealing with the trauma of we just visited and were able to get out. They had to stay and do the entire deployment.